3, 2, 1, 0.
What up? Welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. By God, I appreciate it. Let's get right into it. Nicotine, right? The cause of and solution to all of life's problems. UK has recently announced a smoking ban for people born after 2008. So if you're born after 2008, sorry, no hoons for you, no heaters, no cigs, no darts, none of that stuff. No vapes, but, get your buzzball on or whatever. We don't care about that. Oh, my God. I just got instantly hit with a paywall. Oh, shout out BBC. There we go. Boom. The UK basically passed a law to save the youth by banning all nicotine products for anyone born after the year 2008. And much like the war on drugs, I think this is going to be a resounding success. No way those crafty little bastards are going to figure out a way around this. Or the guys who are just trying to pay the rent on their overpriced corner store are going to turn a blind eye and just keep slanging cigs. Nicotine is a molecule that has been a part of my life for, gosh darn, going on 20-something years at this point. I mean, Jesus Lord. This stuff works. I'm trying to keep a very fair and balanced, no sides, just the facts, Jack. This isn't pro nor con. We're just going to talk about what nicotine is, how it works, how it interacts with your brain, and why so many people are daily users of this here product. The history of nicotine is kind of crazy. I really dug deep into the nitty-gritty, got dirt under my fingernails, pulled out the old information shovel and hit the internet superhighway. And nicotine has been around and used for goddamn ever. For as long as people have been burning stuff, man, oh man, have people been sucking this shit down. You got to imagine the first guy to throw some tobacco leaves in a fire was like, holy shit. Whoa, my God. Can I get a cup of coffee? Okay, so basically, my whole thesis here is just to address what nicotine is, how it interacts with your brain, what receptors it's hitting, how you develop an addiction to it, and what its effects are. We got to look at the three major nicotine market shares, right? You have cigarettes, which dominated for forever. Then you have chewing tobacco, which was always a very specific section of people who drive trucks and hit their dogs. And then the new hot cock on the block, the vape, which popped up and then took over. If you're looking at the history of nicotine, obviously cigs dominated the league, right? I mean, they're the 92 Dream Team. They swept the earth from the 1900s, or I mean the 1800s really, moving into now. In the last 10 years, it's been on the decline for the first time in history, in a major way. Obviously, there have been peaks and valleys throughout, cigarette usage as more science came out, the horrible effects that they have on you and all that stuff. So everybody knows about the history of cigarettes, right? We all know that it was just everywhere. The people are smoking in hospitals. Doctors are being like, you got the vapors, toots. Have a couple of Pall Malls. It'll set you straight. Nope. I think those Lucky Strikes are no good for you. We got to get you on the Camels, right? So then, all the science comes out that all of that all of the stuff that is in that product is not great for you. I remember vividly being like 11 years old and going to an aunt's house who was really dying of lung cancer and in Maiden, North Carolina, and there was a wraparound porch where everyone was on the porch smoking cigs, weeping, which to me was this it blew my mind of man, you are weeping while doing the activity that is causing the weeping. These things are crazy. And then I turned 15 years old. I was on a school trip. Two cool older kids were like, hey, do you want a cig? I was like, I sure do. And ain't that a tale as old as time? So breaking down, the three main food groups. You have cigs, which are objectively cool. It is what it is. It's why all the coolest guys in movies and coolest gals in movies, they all smoke cigs. And now it's even more of an anti-hero thing where it's like, wow, this character really doesn't give a fuck, right? They're smoking cigs? That's crazy. And it's almost adopted this, like, in the youth culture of today, it's adopted this like throwback, almost purely aesthetic. These kids aren't smoking for the love, right? They're smoking for the look, is what I'm trying to say. It's in the same way that we see, mini DV cams being popularized on social media and in video edits. It's because it has like a tactile feel, because the younger generation has no culture or social identity. So they're just latching on to anything from the past that might make them feel like they exist in a world outside of the internet. Random shots at a whole generation. And then, of course, vaping is just ubiquitous now. It had a lot of the social stigma that was attached to it when it first arrived on the scene is now eroded to where it's very common. Hey, let me hit that vape. It's really is the new gen cigarette. And then you have the chewing tobacco. Very rare. I mean, that's got to be less than 1% of nicotine users are off that Kodiak. Like, I mean, I've known thousands of people that smoke cigarettes, and I mean, I've known tens of people that do chewing tobacco, because it's by far the nastiest. Cigs, obviously, huge barrier to entry. You got to go outside. The smell sticks to you. It reeks in a home. It turns your walls yellow. But there is nothing to me grosser than a cup of dip spit. My God, get your life together. That shit is insane. I once watched a friend of mine grab a Pepsi off of his coffee table, take a big swig. Not Pepsi. That's your stepdad's dip spit, kid. Super gross. And then now moving into probably the most cultured in terms of the low keyness and the way that you consume it, the nicotine pouch, which are fucking everywhere. I mean, Billy Bob and his pals and every frat kid and the Zins have taken over. It's basically Zin versus vape, and now cigarettes are the chewing tobacco of the day. The nicotine pouches really popularized in Europe and just kind of migrated over to America within, I'd say, the last 4 or 5 years. It's really become mainstream. But I digress. Let's get into what actually happens when you consume the molecule known as nicotine. Nicotine is a small, naturally occurring compound found in plants like tobacco. Chemically, it's an alkaloid, and its structure lets it cross the blood-brain barrier very quickly, which is why its effects are felt within seconds. This is huge. It's the same thing as THC. It hits the receptors in your brain. Boom! Too sweet. And boy, oh boy, do people love that feeling. I mean, the nicotine high, unlike any other high there is. If you've never experienced it yourself, I'll try and put it out there for you. The way that it feels is very much, and this is a super nerdy explanation. Have you ever seen Doctor Strange when homegirl his master hits him and then his spirit removes from his body? That's similar to how a nicotine high feels. It feels like your spirit is slightly separated from your body. It's losing a 1v1 with gravity and it's being pulled to the ground, and it feels like you're like a quarter second, a few milliseconds behind. It feels very floaty. Now, I haven't felt a nicotine high in probably a decade. Because as you use it more and more and more and more, that feeling is gone very quickly. And you just never feel it again. But the effects you do feel, well, boy, oh boy, they stick around. So how does nicotine interact with your brain? I'll tell you, dear listener. Nicotine primarily targets the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, nailed it, that are normally activated by the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which is involved in attention, learning, and muscle activation. Ooh, we're going to get into that. But I'm telling you, if you did a study on heavy nicotine users and ADHD, you would find quite a correlation, folks. When nicotine binds with these receptors, it mimics acetylcholine, turning the receptors on. This triggers the release of several neurotransmitters, especially dopamine, ding, 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 the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Dopamine release is the brain's reward system. It creates feelings of pleasure and reinforcement. Ooh, I like that. Give me some more of that. It's the same thing that food addicts have, where they get that sweet dopamine hit off of their food. It's dopamine is the devil, and the manipulation of dopamine through social media, food, it's just at the core of everything, dude. Over time, the brain adapts, and this is where the addiction comes into. And I've always been I try to be a really educated drug user my whole life. I want to know what's happening. Why am I feeling this way? What is it interacting with my brain, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, as much as you can. Let's be honest, folks. This is bro science. I gotta let my cat in the room. Real quick on the topic of bro science. This is just stuff that I've read. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm going to present it as fact because that's how you talk about stuff. But I could be wrong in some aspects here. So, if I am, correct me, whatever. You're smart people. You're chill. I recently had a guy tell me that nicotine was almost the exact same molecule as caffeine. And I was like, oh my God, that makes no sense. That's my two favorite things. And then that turned out to be totally false. So this harkens back to the time when you'd saddle up to a bar stool. Some guy would tell you that the moon landing was fake. And you'd be like, no way. That's what this is. With nicotine, over time, the brain adapts. Receptors become desensitized, so more nicotine is needed, just like every other addiction on planet Earth. The brain upregulates receptors, creates more of them. This leads to dependence and withdrawal symptoms when the nicotine is absent. So your brain's like, this is awesome. We got to get more of this stuff. And then when you deny that, now you have all these extra receptors that are hungry for this stuff that it's not getting, and then you tweak and you freak out.
Someone give me a cigarette. Now.
So now we're going to get into pure nicotine theory, right? Because when you have something as interactive with your brain as this, something that really latches hold, then you introduce capitalism. Boy, oh boy, are they going to try and min-max the fuck out of it, right? Which is why you have so many crazy additives in all of your cigarettes. That is what it is. So we're going to talk about just pure nicotine here, devoid of all the extra shit they're spraying on the tobacco and adding it to burn faster or slower or whatever it is that their product is meant to do. Parliament burns incredibly quickly. American Spirit burns incredibly slowly. Also, American Spirit, not pure tobacco leaf. That's pure marketing horseshit. Cigarettes used to be so fun because the branding was so strong that I used to do a party trick where I would stand around and look at people and be able to guess their brand of cigarette. And I would 9 out of 10 times I would nail it. There is such a funny correlation in personality type and brand that you smoke. Do you work a non-tipped restaurant job in 2005? Can I introduce you to Paul Malls? Did you steal cigarettes off of your Midwestern mom your whole life? Boy, oh boy, let's check out some Marlboro Lights. Do you want to be perceived as cool and a bit of a rebel? Boy, oh boy, check out these Camel Lights, the best cigarette known to man. I also think, real quick, while I'm talking about type of cigarette smoker, I also think that the marketing around cigarettes is very interesting because you have this whole thing of cigarette smokers are cool. They're playing to their own rules, right? And I think that the number of people who are now the term would be neurodivergent who use nicotine back in the day, I don't know how strong it is now, was off the charts. There's a reason that smokers gravitate towards other smokers because they're the people who are inside the party, whatever, and they're fucking tweaking and they need to step outside because they're overstimulated and want to chill. And then they're around other people who feel similarly, who then are chill, and then you hit it off. And then somehow everyone tricked people into thinking that the ones smoking the cigs were the cool ones. Meanwhile, the people who are socially competent were inside just having some drinks and chilling. But whatever, I digress. Potential benefits of pure nicotine, right? Improved attention, reaction time, and working memory. particularly noticeable in sleep-deprived individuals and those with attention deficits. Ding, ding, ding. That's me. I cannot sleep right now without an outrageous cocktail of melatonin, magnesium, apigenin, L-theanine, vitamin D, and just a little fish oil to keep it traditional. Neuroprotective research still emerging. Some studies suggest possible effects in conditions like Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. Mechanisms may involve receptor stimulation and reduced neuroinflammation. This is not a recommended treatment, just an observed association in research. So when your grandpappy gets to shaking, give him a pack of Cools, gang. No, don't do that. Yeah, this is Michael J. Fox with a pack of Misties. My aunt smoked Misties, named her dog Misties, and then swore it had no correlation. It's like, all right, for sure. Appetite suppressant. Nicotine can reduce hunger signals and slightly increase metabolic rate. That's why all the models smoked cigs back in the day. Mood modulation. Contemporarily reduce anxiety or improve mood in the short term. However, this is strongly tied to dependence cycles. Yep. I mean, it's like anything that provides a quick release without addressing the underlying problems. Boy, oh boy, is it just going to get worse. Harms of nicotine itself, even without tobacco. Even in pure form, patches, gum, etc., nicotine isn't harmless. Highly addictive. One of the most reinforcing substances due to dopamine pathway activation. Dependency can form quickly, especially with rapid delivery like inhalation. Blood-brain barrier zipping right through it. I mean, this thing is less secure than the Canadian border. Cardiovascular strain increases heart rate and blood pressure, causes vasoconstriction, narrowing of blood vessels. Over time, this may increase the risk of heart disease. It's going to get you, and it's coming from your ticker, folks. Brain development fix. In adolescents and young adults, nicotine can interfere with brain development, particularly impacts attention, impulse control, and reward sensitivity. Boy, oh boy, do I got that. I mean, I started smoking at 16 regularly, and that was a huge mistake. Anxiety and mood instability. While it can feel calming in the short term, it often worsens baseline anxiety over time. Creates a cycle of withdrawal, irritability, anxiety, nicotine relief, repeat, which I, for one, can absolutely attest to this. I have a slow oozing of nicotine from pouches in my face, damn near 24/7. It's not great. Insulin-resistant metabolic effect. Some evidence suggests nicotine can impair insulin sensitivity and affect blood sugar regulation. Sleep disruption. Stimulating effects can reduce sleep quality and REM cycles. Abadinga. Got that too. So basically, the key distinction between pure nicotine and tobacco is that they're both dangerous, but tobacco is nicotine plus a whole bunch of other shit. It would be the difference between taking a caffeine pill and a Red Bull, I guess, or like an energy drink. You have so much stuff slapped on top of it that just boosts its effects, and they're just trying to just sink their little claws into you, get you on a pack a day, and then it's thank you for smoking. If I can get one guy on this flight to start smoking, I can pay for my flights for the rest of my life. It's a fucking evil business. So now we're going to talk about the different delivery systems of nicotine, right? Smoke versus vape versus pouch. Now, having used all of them, I will say this. Cigarettes are incredibly difficult to quit. However, that goddamn vape is just the machinations of an unjust God. If there is a Satan, that dude made strawberry banana elf bars, dude. Like, that shit is fucked. Hardest thing I've ever quit. It was harder to quit than booze. It is gnarly. And the reason it's so gnarly is because there's such a low barrier to entry. Let me explain. Cigarettes, you got to go outside. Cigarettes, you need a fucking lighter. You need flame. You have to harness one of the core elements, right? The vape, man, that thing is singing 24/7. Everyone I know that vapes sleeps with it in their hand or in their bed or right next to their bed. They're waking up in the middle of the night to rip that thing. They're ripping it indoors, outdoors. They do not give a shit. I'm sure everyone listening to this has seen someone vaping on a fucking plane. It's crazy because you can do it anywhere. It basically doesn't smell. It doesn't stick to you like the other thing does. And it's frickin' delicious. My God. I mean, after I went full-time vape because the vape hit and it was marketed as a safer alternative, right? It's glycerin and nicotine salts and and then some flavoring. And you go, well, how could that be bad for me? Let me tell you, folks, it's the worst for you. And it affects you in ways that you don't realize. Where smoking, you wake up coughing, hawking up a lung, all this type of shit. With a vaping, it's not as pronounced. It's not as obvious the effects it's having on you. It wasn't until 3 weeks after being off the vape that I realized that I could breathe for the first time in like 20 years. It was crazy. I also have a deviated septum, so like take that as you will. My O2 levels are incredibly low based on the average. Another reason why I can't sleep. So you are able to freaking rip this thing all day, every day, so long as the battery is charged. Let's also just say vapes are the most effective nicotine delivery system that has ever been devised. It is a handheld nicotine shotgun. It is also a handheld natural disaster. It's a lithium-ion battery, God knows what, nicotine salts, heating coil, and then you just throw it in the trash. It's crazy. It is just the worst kind of e-waste. But the other thing is that I'm not trying to tell you to do, if you are vaping, whatever, man. What got me to quit was someone hit me with, like, your whole life, if you're a smoker and a nicotine user, people are telling you that's horrible for you, blah, 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 and it doesn't affect you. You go, I know, but the benefits are too great. What got me off was the homie going, hey, that's coming from overseas. You don't know what's in that? You might want to think about that. And then I did, and I was like, fuck. And I switched to Zens. It's also plagued by counterfeiting, which is, I think, not spoken about enough. The amount of fake vapes and fake Zens that are strewn across, specifically New York City, are outrageous. It got to the point where you could go into any store and they're selling them. A lot of them under the table. You'll be like, hey, do you have the thing? And they'll be like, oh yeah, we got the stuff. There was a store I was going into very regularly, and the guy had the real shit, and he goes, buddy, buy the box. So I started buying vapes 10 at a time, which is crazy. But it was the only way to guarantee I was getting the good shit, man. Well, I can't get this stepped on shit. I need the pure. Same with Zens. They're fakes everywhere. It's crazy. You open them up, they smell like gasoline. It's nuts. So you gotta be careful, man. And let's just be real here. The vaping, you look like a dork. You look like a straight up dork. It is what it is. By God, you look like a dork. The way that I justified it was at that point where I was like, I want to get off cigs. This thing will help me do that. It's supposedly whatever, not as bad. Definitely just as bad. My justification in my head was like, I've been smoking for 15 years. I have inhaled a forest fire worth of cigarette smoke. I deserve my little strawberry banana dessert. All right. I knew it was the twilight of my smoking days, and that's just how I justified it in my brain. That's how good nicotine is, that you look like the biggest dorcus malorcus on planet Earth. And you're like, I don't give a fuck. I can think. All right. And then the Zens, it's just the only other option. It just is what it is. Gum doesn't work. I've tried all of it. Gum, lozenges, whatever. Zen gets it done. The different ways you interact with nicotine. Inhalation, vaping, and smoking. The speed at which hits your brain, 5 to 20 seconds. That's how quickly it's passing that blood-brain barrier, man. Addiction risk, highest. By God, you don't vape. If you've never vaped, don't do it, dude. It's fucked. Nicotine is absorbed through the lungs and rapidly crosses the blood-brain barrier, produces a sharp spike in dopamine. This fast hit strongly reinforces behavior. Habit forms quickly. It sure does, brother. What's different about vaping versus smoking? Pure nicotine context. Vaping can deliver nicotine nearly as fast as cigarettes, depending on the device formulation. Nicotine salts are especially fast and efficient. Nicotine salts are, dude, don't put them on your omelet. That's all I'm saying. And you can microdose continuously, which often leads to higher total intake. And that's the thing about the vape. You just hit it and you 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 hit it. Low battery. I got another one. Plug that one in. Rip this one. Now, nicotine pouches like Zen. Nicotine plus fillers / flavoring. No tobacco leaf. The entire flow of nicotine products over the last 100 years or so has been to get away from the stigma of tobacco, right? Because of all the additives, because of all the dangers. So what it's been basically whittled down to is nicotine salt, which is taking, I'll explain nicotine salt in a little bit, but it's just a very potent, almost pure form of nicotine. It makes it a much less harsh hit when you're vaping. It's easier on your throat and lungs, and it's what is in Zen pouches. So they basically stripped away the tobacco, just it's synthetic, and they add fillers and flavoring. Zen. I saw one video on TikTok of a guy in a lab who was doing pouch testings where he would basically put them into an extruder, and then the computer scans it and tells you exactly what chemicals are in this thing. Zins were found to be just one giant spike of pure nicotine from the nicotine salts, and then one minor spike of the flavoring. This is specifically the wintergreen, where it seems to have the least amount of random additives. It's like a quote unquote food safe flavoring, which God knows what that's in. What's in that? I mean, just look at how the Reese's peanut butter cup has changed after Congress reduced the restrictions on palm oil. It's gross now, and it used to be incredible. I ate one last night. Still pretty good. So that being said, the thing that I think is most dangerous in Zens is the fillers, which I'm sure are chock full of microplastics, but they literally can't find a human being on Earth to do microplastic testings because they can't find a control. We would have to get one of those untouched tribesmen on an island. We're all going to die. Okay. So nicotine pouches like Zen, what they are: nicotine and fillers and flavoring, no tobacco leaf. Absorption through the gum, which is buccal absorption. Similar pathway to gum lozenges. Speed, slower than inhalation, faster than patches. Effects usually build over 5 to 20 minutes. So basically what you're doing is, instead of, shotgunning nicotine through a vape or a cigarette, you're having a slow drip of nicotine throughout your day. The way I've described it to people, they go, "What is that?" I go, "Oh, it's like I'm just leaking nicotine into my face." That's basically what it is. Which is gross, but it is what the fuck it is. All right. And it's easy, and it's very easy to use discreetly. You're not blowing shit out, whatever. Makes your breath not the best, but not the worst. It's just not ideal. And then, you've got your actual tobacco pouches, which have a slightly higher dose over time, but are grosser, if you ask me. This is a brutal line. With pouches especially, you may feel less addicted, no strong highs or lows, but your brain can stay constantly saturated with nicotine. It's just a little nicotine hot tub, baby. Come on, we're having a nice time. So the other thing about nicotine patches is that they have a dosage on them, generally 6 to 3 milligrams. Or if you go to Russia, they go all the way up to 50. Those guys are fucking crazy. They're only actually getting about 20 to 50% of that, right? So if you're smoking a cigarette, you're getting 1 to 2 milligrams of nicotine in seconds, right? It's boom, right in you. How you doing? Oh my God, my boss is on my back, and oh boy, welcome to Flavortown. Man, the Marlboro man really sunk his teeth in. I mean, cigarettes are so funny. An entire generation was decimated by a camel in sunglasses. Fucking crazy. So you get 1 to 2 milligrams in seconds, right? And then a huge spike in dopamine versus a pouch where you're getting 1 to 3 milligrams over 20 to 40 minutes. So it's like a gradual rise and a smaller dopamine hit. And what got me to switch from vaping, because it went cigs, vape, no cigs, and then cigs and vape inside, cigs outside, and then back to just vaping. And I was like, I have to quit. I got crazy sick, and I just couldn't. My lungs were all fucked up, and I just sat on my couch and I stuck Zins in my head until I wanted the Zins more than I wanted the vape. And that's how I did it. I don't recommend it, but it is one way to go about it. That's the other thing, is that I've been like I've said that vapes are the hardest thing to quit. I didn't quit nicotine. I just quit vaping, which is crazy. I just would love for just like a pill of just boop, you pop it and then whoop, but whatever. The thing to remember about nicotine pouches that the label strength does not equate to actual absorbed dose. And a 6 milligram pouch is closer to 1 to 3 milligrams of actual intake. And slower delivery means less intense, but still addictive, and will often result in a higher total consumption of nicotine because of it has the lowest barriers to entry. You can just do it constantly. So just something to think about. Now we're going to talk about the history of vaping, right? And how the vaping came about and where it all went change and how we got to where we are now, where they are so prevalent. Basically, it used to be freebase nicotine, which boy, oh boy, does that sound like crack. If you remember what they used to look like, they were called mods. It was the big handheld like CB radio walkie-talkie where you would be some guy in giant cargo shorts just huff in clouds, dude. And the thing about the freebase nicotine is that it was a higher pH, so it was alkaline, and it was really harsh on your throat and really gnarly, but they were really pumping out the dosage, like crazy high nicotine levels. What nicotine salts do is they lower the pH, they bring it closer to neutral, and it's easier to hit. So nicotine salts have been around forever, but around 2015, two enterprising gentlemen by the names of James Monsees and Adam Bowen figured out a way to create nicotine salt with benzoic acid that lowered the pH of the vapor, made high nicotine concentrations smooth to inhale, so it's like you get fat fucking rips, dude, and allowed faster, more cigarette-like nicotine delivery. The Juul changed the vaping game because before, like I said, it was, I don't know why, big fat dorks with these giant vape mods, and Juul figured out a way to package that. Everyone knows what a Juul is. I'll explain it for anyone who doesn't, which I don't know how you couldn't possibly know what it is. Juul, it's like a little USB stick. You would buy the stick and then refillable pods that you pop in, right? And they had all types of wacky flavors like mango, which was guaranteed to give you a headache, just the worst. Ones that tasted kind of like tobacco. I think the flavors were like Virginia tobacco and something, and then of course a menthol flavor, and then one that I think was the death nail of society, fruit punch, which by God, that stuff was the best, dude. I mean, it made you feel like the Kool-Aid man surfing on a wave of good times, dude. And the thing about Juul is that Juul's marketing was so good. It was like, this company, they're out of San Francisco, so instantly you're like, oh, San Francisco, California, forward thinking. These guys are on their own trip, man. And it was thrown around as a safe alternative to cigarettes, right? It was a path to quitting, to getting off the cigs, and it wasn't heavily adopted for a while. It was still, people would be like, what the fuck is that? And then they got bought by Big Tobacco, and then everything kind of went sideways where the construction of the pods went down. You would start to it would leak. It would leak the liquid in your mouth and it would burn. It was disgusting. And it became horrible. And that honestly, decline in quality, I think, is what allowed all of the overseas manufacturers, Elf Bar, Gig Bar, Geek Bar, all of this shit, which are so clearly designed for children, right? It's just, you just cannot deny that all of these crazy flavors are just ways to get kids to smoke because cigarettes taste like shit. I remember I was at a skate park when I was like fucking 23. I was having a cig. A guy was skating. He was like, hey man, can I get one of those? I was like, of course. I mean, cigarettes truly a communist enterprise if you really think about it. I mean, bumming cigs, it's very socialist. And this guy grabs one of the cigs and goes, I've never smoked anything besides a Newport before. He'd never had anything that wasn't menthol, right? And he took one drag of the cigarette and was like, what the fuck? That's what these things taste like? And it made me laugh so hard. It's like, yeah, they taste like shit, but they're kind of the best. That's what vaping completely solved that problem. They made the product taste delicious. The problem with that is that it makes it easy for kids to get into this thing, right? The other issue with it is that it's really, really good. So it also is like, man, hey, don't sell this stuff to kids, but please, sir, strawberry banana, if you don't mind. And the vapes are so insane now to the point where they're like tiny. There are companies that make tiny little computers where you can play games on them. I saw a video of a guy who hacked his friend's vape to where they had to get a certain score on Flappy Bird. If you remember that game where it's like this, the little, you got to fly the guy between the pillars. And if you didn't get the score, it wouldn't hit. And that's fun. That's just good, clean fun, folks. It would be like locking someone's cocaine behind a box where they couldn't get to it until they solved a Rubik's Cube. It's pretty great. And that's basically where we're at today, where every concert you go to, every public place, every bar, you're going to see people vaping way, way more than you're going to see people smoking cigs. I think cigs in the next 20 years are going to be an incredibly niche product. They're going to go the way of cigars, I think, where it's just like very niche enthusiasts who still consume this thing. So while I don't think that the ban in the UK, which is such a smoking culture, I mean, pub culture there is crazy. I don't think it's going to be obviously universally effective. I think that it will lead to less overall nicotine use. And man, if you've been able to get off the junk, good for you, dude. That's sick. And if you're still using nicotine on the daily, it is what it is, bro. And as for the vapes, I don't see them going anywhere. The upside is too great for the people that sell them. The demand is too high. It's become a mainstay of the current party scene, and I just don't see it going away anytime soon. I think vapes are going to be here for quite a long time, and I think cigs are on the out. And then same as Zens, man. Those things are going to be hard to beat. It's just too powerful of a molecule. And it makes you wonder why this one has been so loosely regulated for so long and other ones aren't. But hey, that's a story for a different time. Folks, thanks so much. I hope you learned a little something. I know that I personally like to have as much information as I can about the stuff that I put in my body, and then I promptly ignore it, and I go, wow, those Hostess cupcakes are really going to kill me. Let me get 3. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it more than you could ever know. Subscribe, like, drop a comment, all that shit. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.